Hi, welcome back. I wanted to have a video about academic cultural adjustment. What is academic culture? And that's something that's kind of hard to talk about. I actually did my dissertation on how people talk in the classroom, so in some ways I have an idea about what academic culture is, but sometimes talking about how it is somewhat awkward because we're actually a part of that culture. So academic culture. Um, you could think of culture in a number of different ways. For example, you can think of American culture, or you can think of a culture of a city like New Orleans. We're in it, New Orleans culture. And I want us to think about the culture of a university. Like, what is a university and how do people interact there? And I think there's a couple things to remember. One is that the culture of a university has a surface level, and then it kind of has a deeper level as well. So on the surface, you're going to see a lot of Americanized type things. In other words, there's going to be some parts of the culture that are affected by American life. For example, Americans are often thought of as not hierarchical, or in other words, having solidarity, wanting to everyone be equal. And so you'll see that in the culture of a university in America. For example, people will all dress roughly the same. People who wear a suit and tie are usually deans or administrators, and even them, if they don't have a meeting that day, will probably not be wearing a suit and tie. Uh, Professors may be wearing jeans and that type of thing. Also, professors will often ask you to call them by their first name or something to that effect. And so that's kind of all American culture coming out there. This idea of at least surface solidarity. But there's also a deeper level. The university is a hierarchical place, and there's definitely a hierarchy, probably starting with undergraduates, then graduates, then graduates who are TAs, and then professors. So there's definitely a hierarchy of people on campus. What you should think about is kind of how the interactions between the surface and the deeper level. So in my case, I've always had professors that said, "Oh, you can call me by my first name, call me Robert or something like that." But I never felt comfortable doing that because when you as you're in the classroom, you always I don't know. It's just something that is I think something deeper about the university. The university, in its essence, is a group of elect people passing on knowledge to a larger group of people. You know, you've got the professors who have this hidden knowledge, and they're imparting it to the students in a number of different ways. And so there's still that hierarchy there, that plane. So I never felt comfortable calling the professors by their first name, and I'm not sure any of my fellow students did. I never really heard it that much. But we kind of avoided using names because we didn't want to have to do that. We didn't want to, we just say, hey, you, just call it without having to call them by name. Okay, so in addition to this, the surface and deeper level that you have American culture influencing a more traditional, like hierarchical culture that you'll have. That expands beyond just the classroom. If you look at each discipline, you'll usually have a few, I'll call them big men, or people in the discipline who are like the founders of that discipline. They're the gatekeepers. They control who gets published and who doesn't get published. So there's definitely a hierarchy, not only in the university, but also in your field. You have these people who must be cited, or these ideas who must be talked about in order to be published. And whether that's good or bad, that's not really for me to say, but it's something that exists and it's something that you need to be aware of as you adapt to an American university. The other thing to think about is that professors, they're tenured professors, associate, and they're called full professors or just professors, are usually going to be here forever. They're tenured. So it's usually a good idea to not be on their bad side, or in other words, to somewhat flatter them, right? Because they're the ones that will control the curriculum. They're the ones who will be teaching the class in your discipline. And if you're a graduate student, they'll be the ones who serve on the committee that says whether you graduate or not. Even as an undergraduate, most universities have a committee that officially votes on whether the majors have fulfilled their requirements or not. So even though at a surface level, an American university may seem as if everyone's just hanging out and talking about stuff. And at a deeper level, there's definitely a hierarchy going on, and there's something that you should be aware of.